Why then do you live back in the days? Don't be left behind. Join the new normal of digital world. Let radio and television be at your fingertips. Get news and current events, entertainment, sports, kiddies programs, and more at your beck and call on Al-IyamoyeTv and radio. Just visit and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on all social media platforms. Then you are a global citizen. Al-IyamoyeTv and radio. Voice of the voiceless.
It is essential to be up to date on happenings around you, and to make that easy for you, ladies and gentlemen, we present Freshlight, where we bring fresh newspaper headlines to the limelight. Mondays to Saturdays, 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Al-IyamoyeTv and radio. Watch, like, subscribe, and make sure your notification is activated on our YouTube channel. You can also like and comment on our pages on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Al-IyamoyeTv and radio.
It is a beautiful morning and a beautiful week, the 30th day in the month of October 2023, the last Monday in October, of course. You're welcome to a fresh episode of Freshlight on Al-IyamoyeTv and radio, and definitely as we start the new week, we'll definitely end the new week in goodness, definitely. All right, so welcome to Freshlight. My name is Modupe Akinyosoye. Let's quickly go through the stories and headlines we have in our different newspapers this morning. Without further ado, kickstarting the review, let's start with the Punch newspaper. I've got a couple of newspapers with me, which we will be perusing. I have the Punch, the Vanguard, the This Day, and the Daily Trust newspaper. All right, let's start with the Punch. Let's start from the front page of the Punch newspaper to see what we have. On Forex crisis, Labour blames government officials, meet federal government today. We have that with double riders, details on page 2 in the Punch newspaper. Away from that, federal government seeks speedy delivery of Turkish attack helicopters, that on page 7 in the Punch newspaper. Afrexim, Fidelity Bank, John Vance sealed $40 million cocoa deal. You have the details of that on page 38 in the Punch newspaper. Away from that, also from the front page, challenging P&ID fraud saved Nigeria $15 billion, says Buhari, from page 28 and 31 in the Punch newspaper. Also from the front page of the Punch, importers return to parallel markets as Naira rebounds. That you get on page 38 in the Punch newspaper. Lagos begins demolition of Ikoyi structures near drainage. Page 18 as that very story. On Israeli Hamas attack, death near 10,000. United Nations warns of civil unrest. You have that rather sad one on page 14 in the Punch newspaper. And also you get to see German Chancellor visit Tinubu, gives ECOWAS 81 million euros for security and others. You get the details of that on page 14. And also you get to see the pictures right on the front page of the Punch newspaper. All right, quickly going through the Punch newspaper, let's give a couple of stories we have in the Punch newspaper. We'll start with this very story. All right, let's pick this one first from the Punch. A report here says from the Metro page, Ogun police arrest 2 pupils for setting school on fire. The Ogun State Police Command has said it arrested 2 minors for allegedly setting their school in Isheri Olofin area of Ifo, local government area of the state, on fire. The spokesperson for the command, Omolola Odutola, disclosed this in a statement on Sunday. Odutola noted that the minors gained access into the school, gathered books left behind by the teachers, and set them on fire, an act which led to damage of the school books. She stated 2 pupils of community primary school, Isheri Olofin, aged 6 years and 9 years, both residents of the Isheri Olofin community, have been apprehended for setting fire to their school and properties of the school on October 29, 2023. Ogun police arrest two pupils for setting school on fire. Away from that very story from the Gateway State, let's quickly take a trip outside Nigeria to give this report on Israel eats military infrastructure in Syria, says official. Israel's army on Monday said it had carried out strikes on military infrastructure inside Syria as fears grow that its war against Hamas could spur a broader regional conflict. The military said a short time ago an IDF fighter jet attacked launchers from where attacks originated overnight towards Israeli territory. The Israeli jet struck military infrastructure in Syrian territory, it said. The army did not provide more details, but according to Israeli public broadcaster Kan News, the strikes took place near the southern Syria city of Dara. From the Punch, Israel hits military infrastructure in Syria, says official. And back to Nigeria with this business report that says Chinese loan rises by $800 million in 1 year, hit $4.73 billion. Nigeria's debt to China increased from $3.93 billion as of June 30, 2022 to $4.73 billion as of June 30, 2023, showing an increase of $800 million in 1 year. It is an increase of 20.36% from the second quarter of 2022 to the second quarter of 2023, according to an analysis of the external debt stock data from the Debt Management Office. Although the federal government has been chiefly secretive about the terms of the agreement of its China loans, the DMO has made some statements on them in the past. The rest of that with the statement written in the Punch newspaper with the headline, Chinese loan rises by $800 million in 1 year, hit $4.73 billion. Away from that loan report, so let's also take this from the business page of the Punch that says Nigerians spent $340.84 million forex on education in 6 months, says CBN. Nigerians seeking admissions to foreign universities spent $340.84 million to foreign universities to fund their application between January and June 2023. Findings by The Punch have shown, and this figure is according to the Central Bank of Nigeria's data on the amount spent on educational services under the sectoral utilization for transaction valid for foreign exchange. The Apex Bank said that in April 2023, a total of $40.54 million was spent on foreign education, while noting that $48.81 million was spent in May 2023. From the Punch newspaper, the business page, Nigerians spent $340.84 million forex on education in 6 months, says CBN. Away from the Punch, let's see another newspaper this morning. Let's start with the Daily Trust newspaper and see what we have. Let's start from the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. All right, from the front page of Daily Trust, we have on pay rise, federal government's yet to pay 79.3 billion naira peculiar allowance 7 months later. You have that with several riders. The details on page 4 in the Daily Trust newspaper. Away from that, Power Minister yet to give policy directive after 2 months in office. You have that on page 20 in the Daily Trust newspaper. Nigeria, Chinese firms signed 365 billion naira contract to upgrade distribution lines. That's on page 21 in the Daily Trust newspaper. Tinubu, Northern governors and others mourn as Akinyosoye of Igwira land dies at 94. You have that fortunate incident right on page 5 in the Daily Trust newspaper. Bandits kill only teacher in Kaduna community. Rather sad story on page 4 in the Daily Trust newspaper. Federal government plan to absorption of retired military officers. Page 14 captures that story. United Nations raises alarm as food stores ransacked in Gaza. Page 14 as well captures that very story. And you also get to see a revealing story right on the front page. How Bello Matawale released billions to furnish 14 uncompleted governors' lodges. Zamfara government revealing that on page 23 in the Daily Trust newspaper. And also, many feared dead as boats with over 100 passengers capsizes in Taraba. That rather unfortunate incident also on page 4 in the Daily Trust newspaper. Quickly going through the Daily Trust newspaper, let's see the stories that we have. Let's take a couple of reports. All right, we start with this story. Okay, let's take a trip to Rivers State. Rivers governor's loyalist removed as impeachment plot thickens after fire disaster. The crisis rocking Rivers State House of Assembly took another dimension on Monday as the House removed Edison Ehie as the majority leader. Ehie, a reporter, lent is a strong supporter of Governor Siminalayi Fubara. It was said to have frustrated the initial attempt to initiate impeachment proceedings against the governor. And announcing the removal of the majority leader at the assembly sitting in Port Harcourt, the state capital, the Speaker Martins Amayehule said it was removed for not attending the assembly sitting. The rest of that in the Daily Trust newspaper. Rivers governor's loyalist removed as impeachment plot thickens after fire disaster. Away from that, also from the Daily Trust, we have Tinubu statement saying Nigeria crawling, but we are ready to change that narrative. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has expressed the determination of his administration to change the narrative of Nigeria as a crawling nation by bringing transformative governance. He spoke on Sunday during bilateral political talks with the Chancellor of the Federal Republic of Germany, Olaf Scholz, and his entourage at State House in Abuja. The president also called for improved cooperation in security, natural resources, education, and democracy, among others, with the government of Germany. From the Daily Trust, says Tinubu, Nigeria crawling, but we are ready to change that narrative. Away from that, we also have the report that says NACON chair seeks support of Muslims leaders. The acting chairman and CEO of the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NACON, Malam Jalal Ahmed, has paid courtesy visit to the Chief Imam of Lagos, Fadila Sheikh Suleiman Uluwatoyin Ola, and the Ansaruddin Society of Nigeria. In a statement on Sunday, the NACON boss said his decision to visit the cleric and Muslim organization was to solicit their support in the effort to reposition the commission in serving the Ummah in general and the pilgrims in particular. NACON chair seeks support of Muslim leaders. You have that in the Daily Trust newspaper. And also from the Daily Trust, Power Minister yet to give policy directive after 2 months in office. 2 months after assuming office, Nigeria's Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabo, has not released his policy direction to guide and provide solutions to the troubling power sector. The Daily Trust reports that since the administration of Bola Tinubu was inaugurated, he has embarked on an investment drive to attract foreign investors into the Nigerian economy. But energy experts have questioned if the overtures to foreign investors would materialize without the country having a stable power supply to cater to electricity consumers. From the Daily Trust, Power Minister yet to give policy directive after 2 months in office. The rest of our very story in the Daily Trust newspaper. All right, we'll take more story after this commercial break. Let's quickly dash into our commercial room to pay some bills. We'll be back on Freshlight. Stay with us.
Thousands have been disappointed severally in their bid to see greener pasture abroad. To those quack in the traveling agency business, it is a rocket science. That is not our case at Tausaf Travels and Tour. We have in-depth details on how to successfully, without stress, help you process and secure your visa to anywhere in the world. Do you want permanent residential visa, visiting and tourism visa, student visa to places like Europe, America, Asia, Africa? It's no big deal to us at Tausaf Travels and Tour. Our years of experience and expertise speaks volume for us. Let's process and secure visa for you to UK, USA, and Canada within a twinkle of an eye. We offer Hajj and Umrah services to our Muslim faithfuls. What are you waiting for? Consult us at number 9 Tausaf Central Mall, Sholanke Street, behind Laroy Hotel, Abiola Way, Abeokuta. 0802 733 0900 or 0806 578 4060. Stop wasting money. Pay for peace of mind. Talk to Tausaf Travels and Tour.
gbogbo aláfẹ́ tó gbayì tó fẹ́ wọṣọ yìí ṣoge tó bágbàmú ló ń kọjá lọ sí House of Zayana. House of Zayana, the name I know when we talk of top-notch fashion, quality materials and class. House of Zayana, lẹ́tí máa rójúlówó Turkey wears, Egypt and Malaysia clothing, Dubai, àwọn designer bags lóríṣiríṣi, àwọn ìtẹ̀lẹ̀ bàtà tó jiná tí wọ́n fawọ́ original ṣe, àwọn aago kájọ́ tó ń ka wákàtí ọjọ́, designer sunglasses and perfumes, pẹ̀lú àwọn gbogbo nǹkan tóbìnrin àsìkò fi ń gbafẹ́ lò gbà. Mo débẹ̀ ojú mi ń ṣe kámi, èmi ni ó rà, èmi ni ó mú. Gbogbo ẹ̀yin mùsùlùmí ẹlẹ́sìn tẹ́ gbòógè gbọ́n pa fashion tẹ́ wá nílò jàlábíà, hijab àti àbáyà lóríṣiríṣi. House of Zayana lẹ́ ò ti rí gbogbo ẹ̀ rà. House of Zayana wà ní 52 Ọlọ́run ṣògo road adjacent Redeemed Church Agape Parish Ọlọ́run ṣùgbẹ́ orí Instagram of Zayana 081668868. House of Zayana, ilé ìtajà tá a ti ń tojúlówó aṣọ àti nǹkan ara lóge.
Thank you for staying with us. Still Freshlight on Al-IyamoyeTV and radio. Still going through some of the stories and headlines in our different newspapers this morning. And picking up the Vanguard newspaper, let's see what we have on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. We have headlines like NLC, TUC, NECA to federal government, halt fall in Naira value with several riders. Page 5 captures the details of that very story. Minister, Foreign Missions roll over return date. Page 8 has the story. Tinubu to German leader, we want to change weak economy narratives. You get the details of that report on page 25 in the Vanguard newspaper. And a special report headline right here says, card reader, server, beavers, and IREV, NAS, INEC, and judiciary and future elections. Page 14 has the details of that very story. Fidelity Bank boosts Nigeria's oil exports with FITCC Houston. Page 9 has the very story with double riders. Away from that, also from the front page, monarch and Catholic priest, 4 others abducted in Zamfara and Taraba. That's rather unfortunate incident on page 6 in the Vanguard newspaper. Varsity lecturer killed in Niger. Page 6 captures that sad story as well. And also a business headline right here says, net foreign exchange inflow falls 54% to $7.29 billion in the first half of 2023. Page 20 captures that story. Or your government files appeal against removal of Sean. Page 10 has the details of that. Tinubu, ACF and others mourn as Akinyosoye of Ibiraland dies at 95. That's also resurfacing at the front page of Vanguard. And page 6 captures the details of that very story. We have a sport headline right here that says 2026 WCQ, Leicester block Ndidi from joining Super Eagles. Page 31 has that story. And also you get Tinubu host German Chancellor. You get a picture of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the German Chancellor of the Federal Republic of Germany, Olaf Scholz, at the presidential villa in Abuja during the German leader's visit to Nigeria yesterday. Quickly going through the Vanguard newspaper, let's start with this very report here that says NLC, TUC and NECA to federal government halt fall in Naira value. The Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, TUC, and the Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, NECA, yesterday raised the alarm over the continued free fall of the Naira, asking the federal government to take urgent steps to stabilize the national currency. The NLC specifically warned that in the absence of swift and tangible interventions, it might be compelled to take appropriate steps to compel relevant authorities to prioritize rescue of the Naira, the economy, and ultimately the entire nation. While the TUC expressed regret over the debilitating effect of the slide in Naira value on workers through inflation, NECA, which is the voice of business in Nigeria, lamented that free fall of the Naira was shutting down businesses in the country. NLC, TUC, NECA to federal government, halt fall in Naira value from the Vanguard. Away from that, Talking about the Germany. Germany needs Nigeria talent for work, says German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. The German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has revealed that there is a need in Germany for people who have talent in Nigeria and other African countries to work in a way that is a regular path for migrants. Scholz said this when he was received along with his entourage by President Bola Tinubu in the presidential villa in Abuja on Sunday. He was reacting to an alleged refusal by the federal government to retrieve over 12,000 Nigerians who were unable to make Germany's asylum provision and were at risk of deportation when he made the disclosure. And responding to the migration question, Scholes said the debate was on and that the gray areas would be attended to. From the Vanguard, Germany needs Nigerian talent for work, said German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. Away from that, also from the Vanguard, we have this report that says Rivers Assembly set on fire over threat to impeach Governor Fubara. The hallowed chambers of the Rivers State House of Assembly has been set ablaze by suspected political thugs in the state. This is following a move by the House to commence an impeachment process on the leader of the House, Honorable Edison Ehie, and the state governor, Sir Siminalayi Fubara, on Monday. The arsonists had carried out the act at about 9:45 p.m., causing uneasy calm around the assembly complex where the state police command also stands. Rivers Assembly set on fire over threat to impeach Governor Fubara. The details of that in the Vanguard newspaper. And let's speak the This Day newspaper to see what we have from the This Day newspaper. All right, let's start from the front page of the This Day newspaper. From the front page, we have Tinubu, we are set to change narratives surrounding Nigeria's economy. With the writer reiterates with Supreme Court affirmation of his election, no more distractions. You have the details of that right on page 5 in the This Day newspaper. Also from the This Day, 15-point agreement. NLC wants a Minister of Labour excluded from today's meeting with federal government. With the writer insists Wednesday's protest in Imo will hold. You have that on page 5 as well in the Disney newspaper. On subsidy removal, right on the front page, federal government targets 1 million gas-powered vehicles by 2027. Page 8 captures that very story. Rivers Assembly set ablaze over alleged move to impeach Governor Fubara. That's also resurfacing. The details on page 42 in the Disney newspaper. Tinubu, Atiku, Barau, Northern Governors, Ganduje, Milaye, Ajaka, and others, Mon Ohinoyi of Ibira Land. That's on page 5 as well in the This Day newspaper. And also from the This Day, Adeleke says Oshun to get 5 flyovers, 45 roads from 100 billion naira infrastructure plan. You have that on page 40 in the This Day newspaper. And also you get to see the picture of the Chancellor of Germany with visiting Tinubu right on the front page of the This Day newspaper. Quickly going through the This Day newspaper, let's start with this very story that says 15-point agreement. NLC wants Minister of Labour excluded from today's meeting with federal government. With a writer insists Wednesday's protest in the Imo will hold. Nigeria Labour Congress NLC has threatened to boycott today's meeting with the federal government meant to review the 15-point memorandum of understanding it had signed with the government if the Minister of Labour and Employment, Honorable Simon Lalong, would be in attendance. NLC also vowed to go ahead with its protest in Owerri, the Imo State capital, scheduled to hold on Wednesday over an unresolved dispute with the state government on the sack of workers and unpaid salaries. It's alleged that more workers had lost their lives to hunger in Imo State than those killed by unknown gunmen and insecurity. From the This Day, 15-point agenda agreements, I beg your pardon. NLC wants Minister of Labour excluded from today's meeting with federal government. Away from that, also from the This Day newspaper, Bayelsa, Imo, Kogipo, CDS, IG read the Riot Act. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, and the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, have warned those planning to disrupt the November 11 governorship election in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi to stay clear of the three states. Speaking with journalists shortly after the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security meeting in Abuja, Musa urged the residents of Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi State not to entertain any fear. Musa pledged that the armed forces would provide full support to the police in ensuring that the elections were free and fair. The armed forces, the police, and other security agencies would be on the ground. Every Nigerian, we are sure, is tired of elections with violence, and this will try to make a difference. Bayelsa, Imo, Kogipo, CDS, and IG read the Riot Act. Away from that story, from the Tuesday as well, NAFDAC seeks tougher sanctions against peddlers of substandard medicines. The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, has said enforcement of more stringent penalties would drastically reduce sales and distribution of substandard and falsified medicines in the country. The agency put the value of global commerce in substandards and counterfeit drugs in 2016 at $4.4 billion, accounting for 0.84% of all pharmaceutical product imports globally, and excluded a sizable amount of locally produced and consumed SF medicines. You get the details of that right in the Tuesday newspaper. NAFDAC seeks tougher sanctions against peddlers of substandard medicines. Away from that, also picking the story from the Tuesday newspaper, federal government rehabilitation of 43-year-old Kaduna refinery to be completed in the fourth quarter of next year, with double riders Kiari to appear before Senate this week over 60% frontier acreages funds. Inspect Kano AKK gas project says 2024 completion target feasible. The federal government has said the rehabilitation of the 110,000 barrels per day Kaduna Refinery and Petrochemicals Company Limited would be completed between October and December next year. A statement by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPC, quoted that Minister of State of Petroleum Resources, Senator Heineken Lopobiri, as having made the remark during an inspection tour of the plant at the weekend. From the Tuesday, federal government rehabilitation of 43-year-old Kaduna refinery to be completed in the fourth quarter of next year. The Tuesday captures that story. And quickly, let's take sports reports right from the Tuesday newspaper. All right, let's take this very story from the Tuesday. Awoniyi says, why I left Liverpool after 6 years of no action. Taiwo Awoniyi has revealed why he left Liverpool after 6 years without playing competitive game for the Reds. Speaking before his Nottingham Forest got beaten 3-0 at Anfield yesterday, the Super Eagles forward, who is just returning from a groin injury, admitted that after training with the likes of Mohamed Salah and Sadio Mane, he realized he may not be able to displace any of the top stars for a place in Liverpool's startings 1x. This perhaps was responsible for why Liverpool transferred him to Union Berlin in a £6.5 million permanent deal in July 2021, following a succession of loans in Germany, Holland, and Belgium. Awoniyi, why I left Liverpool after 6 years of no action. The Tuesday captures that story. And also taking the sports story from the Tuesday newspaper to round it up, Super Falcons opponent Lucy of Ethiopia land in Abuja. The delegation of Ethiopia's senior women national team arrived in Abuja yesterday ahead of tomorrow's Paris 2024 Olympic Games second leg qualifying match against the Super Falcons. The 35-person delegation flew into Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport just at noon aboard an Ethiopian Airways flight. Meanwhile, the General Secretary of Nigeria Football Federation, Dr. Mohamed Sanusi, at the weekend charged the Super Falcons to work as a team and bring their A game into the match. From the Tuesday, Super Falcons opponents, Lucy of Ethiopia, land in Abuja. And from that sports story, we've come to the end of newspaper review, which is Freshlight on Al-IyamoyeTv and radio. Do not forget to follow us on all the social media platform, on Facebook at Al-IyamoyeTv and radio, on the X platform at Iyamoye_TV, and on Instagram at Al-IyamoyeTv. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel and also turn on your alarm button. And also, more importantly, you can definitely bring your product and services right on Al-IyamoyeTV and radio. We'll definitely do the advertising for you to get your target audience right on Al-IyamoyeTV and radio. Thank you so much. We still have lots of program loaded for your pleasure. Today, the 30th day in October 2023. I remain Modupe Akinyosoye. Good morning.